INFJs are not loud leaders, but our presence is undeniable. The point is, though, we don't acknowledge it within ourselves. It's so much easier for other people to dismiss what we're doing if we are even dismissing it for ourselves. We can change the dynamic on any kind of group that we enter if we're willing to do so. We do this subconsciously, we do this energetically, we're doing this by making space for other people, we're helping other people feel magnetic in our presence, and there's so many qualities that we bring to the table once we enter a group or once we're in any kind of dynamic. But most of the things that we do go unnoticed. And when they go unnoticed, at some point we do get resentful. And in this moment, it's really this dilemma because I don't want to shout it out. And if I even did, nobody would believe me. They can't see it. And so there's always this dilemma of I'm resentful that nobody sees what I'm doing here. But at the same time, I don't even know what to do to make them see it. I don't want to shout about it. I don't want it to be something that I have to actively advertise. And so it becomes this huge pain point that seems like an unresolvable puzzle. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. Once we actually acknowledge ourselves, how much we add to any kind of dynamic, and we start valuing it, you will see how things will change, because then we won't give it out freely. We will know that there's worth just by us being in any kind of situation. And this is something that has to be respected. And once we see this, once we see how much other people benefit from this, we actually learn how to value it ourselves to such an extent that we demand to be respected. When before we were more focused on proving to ourselves that we're good people by how much we're willing to give. It is never the right approach. It has always caused us problems, and it's not even something that will help other people if they're not appreciative and value what you bring to the table. So today we're talking about 5 ways you've been low-key running the show without credit and how to start valuing ourselves for it once and for all. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you haven't done this so far, to download the free poster on the INFJ Mastery. And if you want to take to the next level, then join our INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp. Our next live call will be March 29th. We're going to talk about prosperity for INFJs in this particular live call, and we're going to focus on that the entire month afterwards. So make sure you join us before that live call so you get access to all the information and all the discussions that we have moving forward. Everything you need to know in order to join us, you can find through links in the description. Way number 1, you sense a problem and remove it before others are even aware of it. So this is something we're really good at. We see it miles ahead, that some kind of situation will cause a problem for another person, and we quietly remove that obstacle. When we sense that a conversation is headed in the wrong direction, when we sense that, for example, one friend might hurt another friend by going and talking about certain things, we shift the dynamic into another direction. We are really making sure that everything stays harmonious, and we take on responsibility for that. This is something that nobody can sense. I mean, think about it. How could they? Nobody knows that you're sensing, oh, if that friend continues talking about that, my other friend will get offended. And I'm the one who prevents that by doing something else. So it's nobody's fault that they're not getting it, but know for yourself that this is something that you bring to the table and it is valuable. And if they're not sensing what you're bringing to the group, then let them see what it means if you're not there. If you feel disrespected, if you feel like people are not giving you the time of day or they're not giving you the kind of value and respect that you deserve, then quietly just step back, let them figure it out for themselves, and allow some things like this to happen. Like, it's not always your responsibility to avoid conflict. You're not the one causing it. Just know that if you step in, you're not doing this because it's your obligation, because you're the only one who can avoid this. You're doing this because you have something to give and you would like to improve that situation. This is something that is a benefit to others. It's not something that is your responsibility. Way number 2, you hold space for other people so they can shine. So what does this actually mean? Well, it means that you're not being present with all of your energy all the time. You're not presenting a stable energy form that is all about what you want, what you like, what makes you feel good, but you're actually taking a step back and deliberately making space and emphasizing another person's point of view, how they see the world, what makes them special. You not only make space for others by taking a step back, but you're emphasizing their strengths. People feel so great around you because you see them. You see what makes them great. You want to see more of that. You bring it out in people because there's a reaction that comes from you. You'll see how people just start smiling for no reason when they're in your presence because you allow them to be all that they are. And we know that this is just a little space. We know that this is a crutch. We know that this is not something that is sustainable forever. But for this time being, you have been able to create this. You can see other people. You can mirror back to them whatever you want to mirror back to them. Meaning you see other people's weaknesses and you don't emphasize them. You just look at the bright side. You allow them to really go all out. And this is a great experience for everybody. But if people feel like you're doing this because you have no other choice, because you're just some groupie that's excited to be in their energy, they're not going to appreciate it. And they're going to act in a way that nobody's going to like, neither you nor them afterwards, when they recognize that this is just a choice you had. This is not your go-to situation. And so I really encourage you, make people aware that this is a temporary thing. I see you. I want to encourage you to live this out unapologetically, but this is not something I can offer you all the time because of several reasons. First off, because I can't neglect myself forever. And second of all, because I can't just shine at the positive things. This is not going to help you anyway. But for the time being, I love to make you feel good in that moment. This is something that we bring to any dynamic that we're in. And if we don't value that, if we don't know that this is something that is special, but it's also something that people are not aware of until you show them that there is another way, people are not going to be able to see that either. So when it comes to this, always know, never really play this one role. You're not supposed to have a relationship with a person that's all based on you making space for them. This is one aspect of who you are. It's one of the benefits of being your friend or close companion, but it's definitely not something you give away to everybody, and it's definitely not something that is a necessity for you to be worthy of other people's friendships. So know that you are allowed to be yourself and that this is something that you add to any kind of dynamic, and it has to be valued first and foremost by you before anybody else can start valuing it. Number 3, you do emotional labor that nobody's aware of. So emotional labor is incredibly hard. You've seen this with people who are not really good at this. This is not something that everybody's able to. It's not something that everybody wants to do. Emotional labor requires energy. And it's also something that can be invisible if you are not making people aware of it. So how does that look like? Well, emotional labor is you being the confidant for other people. It's you being the one who processes other people's emotions. If you can process your own emotions in any kind of way, so sadness, anger, hurt, whatever it may be, you know what you do? You express them outwardly. And hopefully there's somebody who's there who's going to help you through that. But this is not something you can sustain forever. This is not something that is just a given. It's something that you actively do. It's emotional labor that you do for other people. And they are not going to be able to see what you're doing until you make it something that is an add-on. This is not who you are. You deserve to be respected without doing that emotional labor. And you're doing this on top of everything. And when you start choosing yourself, you'll see how you'll actually have less energy for the emotional labor for others. And this is okay because it's so potent. There's so much you can give to other people. And when you do, it will have that much more meaning. You can't save others anyway. What I mean by this is you can't be other people's crutches. It doesn't work. They have to survive without you. So if you're always there to pick up their emotional stuff that they can't handle, they will never figure out how to deal with their own pain. And every single one of us has to learn how to do this, by changing our lifestyle, by changing the people we hang around with, by setting boundaries, by learning through pain. And if you always take that away from others, there's no way for them to grow, to get better. And on top of it, they have no idea what you've been doing for them. That being said, it's a beautiful gift to be able to take that emotional burden off of people for a while. Everybody deserves this. We deserve this. That there's somebody that when we can't or don't want to handle our own emotions, that is there and is making space for that. We're so good at that, and we love doing this for other people. But if we don't see this as a great gift and we start respecting it, we can't expect other people to respect or value it. I've been in situations where I felt, but I'm giving so much. I'm doing so much for you. I'm allowing you to express all your emotions. I'm processing them for you. And still, it seems like I'm not good enough. But it just doesn't work this way. A person in pain will never recognize what you're doing for them in that instant. They will probably create even more drama within themselves and towards you because they're not used to having a smaller burden to carry because you have taken something off their shoulders. So know that this is one of the ways you've been low-key running the show and nobody's aware of it. And first and foremost, we have to be aware of it and know that this is not something that is a necessity for you to be accepted. It's hard, but we can all do it. You deserve to be liked, respected, appreciated without doing anything for other people. When you give this because you can, but not from a perspective of I need to prove myself. Number 4, you adapt so smoothly that people don't recognize that you're the glue. How often have you been in situations where you knew if two of your friends were left to their own devices, they would clash because they would talk about things that both don't agree on, there will be tension, and it will be felt throughout the entire room. And what do? You navigate the situation, you navigate the conversation towards something that is safe. How often have we done this as INFJs? It seems like it's our go-to thing. It seems like it's our responsibility. And we do this without people asking us to do this. We do this without thinking even. It's something that we naturally do because instinctively we don't want there to be a clash. It doesn't feel good to our system. It doesn't feel good to us. The reason why we're doing this so instinctively is because on the one hand, we're so open to that situation that we know this is going to affect us. We're going to feel it. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And second of all, because we do take responsibility for it. That's what I mean with you've been low-key running the show. But just because you can take responsibility for something doesn't mean you should. Let it clash. Let them have this uncomfortable conversation. I understand where you're coming from, and I've done this many times, and we can still do this. But you will see how much better you feel if you just allow situations to sort of happen, because then people recognize that somehow everything runs smoother if you're actively there, if you're really participating in that conversation, if they include you in the conversation. So often people are on the verge of arguing, and that's the moment when we speak for the other person or when we kind of like try to navigate it into a different direction. When we do this, people don't recognize on the low key how we've been the glue all along. And this is not only happening in friendships. This is also something that you experience in your family. This is also something that you can experience at work. And people don't have to recognize what you're doing for them consciously. But if they recognize it subconsciously, you will be that much more respected, and your power and what you bring to the table will be that much more valued. So I really encourage you, don't make it something that happens automatically all the time just because you can, because it will drain you. It will not protect people from the fact that they actually have to deal with other people who have different opinions. And it also doesn't make you a bad person for having interactions with a person who has different values than somebody else that you're in contact with. This is not your responsibility. You are human, you're whole with having those connections, with being able to hold this gray area of what you accept and when and how. And if people want to judge you for it, then let them judge you. But this has to be something that you bring in because you can, because you feel like it, because you're up for it, because your energy is there, and it's something that people have to recognize. Again, it doesn't have to happen consciously, but if it happens all the time and you always prevent these things from happening, nobody's going to recognize it, and you're going to be drained. It's not going to be valued, and people are not even going to learn their lesson. But if you do this from time to time, deliberately, in situations that are important for you, people will actually mirror you. They will learn from you. They will learn how to be able to hold different values that they can live with without being too judgmental, as long as they don't clash with their overall integrity, of course. Way number 5, you carry the vision nobody else can see yet everybody follows. So this is particularly interesting when it comes to specific people in your life and you see where their life could be headed if you just steer them the right way. And people will follow you. They will follow the path that you're mirroring back to them, thinking that it's all their idea. But think about it like this. If you remove yourself, if you don't play into this dynamic, are they still going to be able to see that path? And most people will not. And it's not something they should be ashamed of or embarrassed about or we should feel bad about. This is one of our superpowers. We're great at envisioning what other people could become. They have other strengths. They can handle more social dynamics, for example. They can be in more energetically intense, environments, things that would overwhelm us. But the vision stuff, that's something we're really good at, particularly for people in our life that we make space for and that we have a genuine interest of helping. But if they don't recognize that you're the one who's creating that vision, who's creating that path, who's showing them where to look, they won't be able to value it. They might even put you down, not recognizing that you're showing them the path. And we don't want it to get to a place where you feel so resentful that you have to door slam people. Just know that it's completely natural for people not to be aware of it. It's something that you can do for other people, but it's not something that is just there. It's something we actively do. So it's about time that we start seeing it as a value that we bring to any kind of dynamic. So if a person is acting in a way of, I don't know what you're doing here, you're not bringing any value, and they have no idea what's going on, it's time that you show it to them. It's really time that you remove that mirroring aspect. So your main energy should be all about making sure that you're good, that your boundaries are protected. And then on top of it, you can show people the path, but only if they're able to allow you to be all that you are. That is not the case. It does not matter how much you can help them. They're not going to be able to receive what you're giving to them because the price that they have to pay is just too big. So know that you bring so much to any kind of dynamic that you're in, no matter if it's one person or a friend group. And we are the ones who have to start valuing it. We have to understand how much we bring to this relationship. Once we know it, other people will sense it. We will behave in a way that requires respect for what we bring to that dynamic. But if we ourselves feel like it's a necessary component for me to just be accepted, and I actually have to prove to everybody that I'm deserving of this connection, it's always going to lead to pain and problems for everybody. So remember, if you want to learn how to tap into the next level of your INFJ evolution and create your INFJ epic life on your terms, then join our amazing community of INFJs in our bootcamp. So join us before our next live call, March 29th. Everything you need to know you can find through the links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then check out the video you see on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.